Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite, episode 18. Massive episode. We're coming off the big win at Old Trafford, and we're going to get into all of that. We're all hyped for this one. With me today at Going Limbs, as always, Max. What's up, man?
I'm just really excited. Big win like we talked about. It being important for us to make a statement. We certainly did that. Could have even been bigger, but yeah, just a great result away to Old Trafford.
Yeah, for sure. We got a lot to talk about. With us also is Alex Chang at Alex Chang, X instead of an A in Chang. What's up, man?
What's up? Good to be back. Excited to talk about some Spurs.
No doubt, man. Glad to have you. I know it's been a couple weeks. Schedules don't always align, right? But glad to have you back, and especially glad to have you back to talk about, again, the big 3-0 victory up at Old Trafford. It's always better to podcast after that type of win and that type of performance, right? Let's dive right into it, guys. We talked about it on the last show. This was an opportunity for a statement win, not only for the club, but most importantly for Ange Postecoglou. Max, you had brought that up, right? And, I talked a little bit about what that statement win maybe was, and there wasn't much of one to hang a hat on. We certainly have that. But Max, I'll go to you, man. What could this potentially do for the rest of the season before we get into lineups and all of that?
Well, we've won 4 games in a row now. We should be winning 5 games in a row. We got Brighton at the weekend. Chelsea just recently thrashed them. That could be 6 wins in a row right there. I mean, it's like honestly exactly what we needed with how poorly we started this season. Coming off North London Derby to just hit the ground running like this. We needed it so bad. And I think this game, I'm not going to say it's a turning point because I feel like we kind of turned the corner. Like that Coventry match was like a real wake-up call for us. And after that, we have really turned a corner. And I think this game would have been like a little bit more of a statement if Timo Werner like was good at soccer. So there's that, but honestly, I can't complain about much. It's huge for our season for the confidence. I think the biggest thing is the confidence in like all the players that we had questions about: Johnson, Bentancur, everyone in the back line, and like they just all everyone's playing with so much confidence, and that's huge going forward. We're just so good when we have that type of confidence.
Yeah, well said. Couldn't agree more. Chang, Max talked a little bit about what this does for the club, but I want to talk about Ange Postecoglou specifically, man. What does this win do for an Ange Postecoglou at this point in time?
Honestly, I think it definitely shows that we need to back him a little bit more. I think there are definitely some fans calling for his head 3 weeks in, which is honestly a little ridiculous, showing at what he can do and what he has been doing. Like Max said, 4 wins on the bounce. I think the Coventry win, if in a different universe, like probably like 99 other scenarios, we lose that game and our season is gone, like just like that. So I think that win definitely exactly like Max said, wake up call, and 4 wins on the bounce, right? So it's all good.
Yeah, well said. I'm stoked for Ange. There was a really good. Why am I drawing a massive blank here? The brothers from Manchester United, Gary Neville. Jeez, horrible.
Gary.
There was an awesome Gary Neville interview or post match highlight, right? Where he went into Ange Postecoglou and how impressed he is with Ange and Tottenham, and it was really nice because I think Spurs haven't gotten the flowers across the general media. It's all been Manchester United and Ten Hag, and they were horrible, and the red card was questionable, and even Paramount Plus this morning footy, which I'm a massive fan of. Too many gooners in that group, right? But there was all kinds of pundits there even saying it shouldn't have been a red card, right? So it's all red card focused, Man United focused, blah 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 blah. Nobody's talking about Spurs, but Gary Neville comes out, gives Tottenham our flowers for sure, especially Ange Postecoglou, and he talked a lot about how he looks at the Man United squad and the Tottenham squad. Man United, I think, has spent $650 million on the current starting 11 that had played against Spurs, right? And He just talked about how Ange is doing so much more with less money because he's making the right decisions and bringing in the correct players, right, as opposed to just like spending on talent. I'll tell you what, when we signed Mickey Van de Ven, and let's talk about him and kick it off. When we signed Mickey Van de Ven, I wanted someone else. I wanted Tapsoba. I was very interested in Tapsoba. We signed Mickey Van de Ven, and I'm not the type to like complain and moan about that, right? Or whatever. I'm going to support Tottenham regardless, but I was a little bit underwhelmed when we signed Van de Ven, and obviously, what do I know? Max, let's transition right into the game. Last thing I'll say, check out that Gary Neville interview if you can find it, right? I'll make sure to post it on the handles for sure for the listeners. But again, let's dive into that goal and Mickey Van de Ven, man. Holy crap. I jumped off my chair and screamed, but walk me through that goal.
Yeah, it was just a stunning assist. So obviously we know he has the pace. He's dribbling. You're getting a little bit excited, right? He takes the big touch to get to the end line, and he's just dusted him. And then it's a perfect ball. Brendan's at the back post, like we're taught in this system. Always be crashing the back post because it's all about those balls coming across the face. And we finally converted one of those. I don't know how many times that's been successful this season. It feels like not that many, but we got it done. Van de Ven, brilliant performance all across the board throughout his entire time on the pitch. He also played amazing midweek with 10 men, being like the only true center back there. Yeah. And for me personally, we tweeted this out on our Twitter. I tweeted this out on our Twitter, just updating my cumulative player ratings because I've been keeping track of my player ratings, the average for every match. And number one, 7.7 match average. And my baseline, everyone starts at a 6. Van de Ven is at a 7.7 match average across this entire season, which is comfortably the best player in my rating system. And I feel pretty comfortable also saying that he might be the best player in the team.
I think he is the best player in the team personally. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think if you go pound for pound, every single position, and not only the player's ability to play that position well, but the importance to the way that we play football, I think Mickey Van de Ven is bang on number one. Our system does not function without him, and we've seen that actually already this season, right, what that can look like. But our high line just absolutely depends on Mickey Van de Ven, and he's phenomenal. But that goal, it all happened so fast. But I looked at my wife and I said, that's what Mickey can do. And I was just talking about the interception. Like I was just talking about how quickly he closed that ball down. And then 5 seconds after I said that, he puts through, one of the – honestly, I can't think of a better assist from a center back in the Premier League for a long time. And Gary Neville actually likens it to oh my God, I'm drawing another blank here. Ryan Giggs' run in the 1990 FA Cup final, if anyone's ever seen that, right? But he dices and weaves, and he ends up scoring where Mickey goes the other way and puts a ball across the face of the goal. But that run is phenomenal. We could go on and on about Mickey Van de Ven for the next 45 minutes. We won't. Romero as well, Chang, I thought put in a really good shift in this match. And we can even transition this into lineups. But I think I just wanted to pause on Romero for a second because there's so much focus on Mickey Van de Ven right now, as there should be. I mean, for all the reasons we just said, right? But I also think it's really important to talk about, and this is where I'll come to you, how important it is for Mickey Van de Ven to have Christian Romero to be able to play the way that he plays too, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And honestly, I would disagree a little bit. I think that in the past, it's been mainly Romero getting his flowers and not Mickey Van de Ven as much.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that obviously, like on top of being an absolute pace monster at the back, Mickey Van de Ven has those glimpses of like attacking like prowess. He has like a few goals. I remember his rocket. I literally cannot tell you against who. Sorry, but
Burnley.
Those. Yeah. So then I think another part of it has to be the international stage. Romero, World Cup for Argentina, and you have to think Mickey Van de Ven was barely used in the Euros by Ronald Koeman. To have a player like that sit on your bench is absolutely ridiculous. Ronald Koeman is an absolute terrible manager. Anyways, but I digress. Anyways, but yeah, that pairing of Mickey Van de Ven and Romero, like it's gonna be a sad day when they go, obviously, especially after years of defensive frailties. Like especially when we had so much attacking firepower, like Kane, it was always Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez. We had fucking Clement Longley on loan. What the hell were we doing, bro? You give us Kane back with this defense, and we're winning the league. I'm sorry, but you can't deny it.
I don't hate that take. Although Swansky's been phenomenal too, and we'll talk about that. But
I mean, dude, yeah. If we had this back line like in like a Jose Mourinho system or even like Conte, like it's quite a different story, I think.
All right, so let's look at this then. If we look back at the back line of Rose, Vertonghen, Toby, Kyle Walker, how long? What does this back line have to do to be viewed as more impactful than that back line? Because I don't think they're there yet. But there's a conversation there, I think, which is pretty cool.
Win a trophy.
Yeah. 100%. I love that take. Great answer.
I mean, that team got second in the league, third in the league where we should have won the league.
Yeah. At a time where we had no business being that good.
And made a Champions League final. And then obviously Walker and Rose are kind of some of our own. So, it's different. But, I think this one, the back line we currently have has a higher ceiling. Like, I think genuinely all four of those lads could – like, Udogie's 21. Like, it's insane. And I think all four of them could get to, a really high level. Like, I think that Vertonghen was maybe at, the level that Mickey is showing right now at some point. I think Romero has far surpassed Toby already. Not for Spurs, but just generally in footballing ability. I mean, no, he won the world. Romero won the World Cup. He's a different level. Yeah. I think that Kyle Walker is probably the best career out of those four. So I don't know if Poro's that good, but I still think Poro could be top 5, top 10 right back in the world on his day. So, and I just think Udogie is better than Danny Rose. Danny Rose was great for Tottenham, but Udogie's the type of player you could see at a City or Madrid, really.
Frankly, I think this whole back line could end up at that big of a club at some point. I really do. I mean, there's no business Barcelona hasn't probably already sniffed around a Pedro Porro right in their right back hunt, especially considering he's Spanish. So we digress, but let's talk about those fullbacks in the match they had specific to Manchester United. I thought both were phenomenal. People all over the Man United Twitter are talking about how they need to go buy Udogie now because they've had left back issues with Luke Shaw and all of that.
They had Sergio Reguilon last year.
They have Malacia, bro. Dude was on witness protection program.
And Udogie, frankly, is not making a step down to Man United, but no, Udogie and Porro were both fantastic. Talk to me about them, guys.
Yeah, I think Udogie was really good. Obviously only played a half. So when I was doing my ratings, I just find myself those two, grouping them together. Typically they have similar impacts on the game for me where they're always just good. Recently they've just been good, doing their job, doing what they're supposed to do. But I thought Udogie offered a little bit more going forward, and Pedro Porro second half, a little bit of an onslaught on his side when we were soaking up a bit of pressure. He's a little shaky still, a little antsy diving into tackles and whatnot, but he did play the whole match. So that's always a plus for me, especially if he's not going to play midweek, which who knows at this point with Udogie's injury. But I thought they were both good, like always, just consistent.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Porro did have a bit of a steeper challenge when it comes to Marcus Rashford. I don't think Marcus Rashford is like phenomenal by any means, but I think he's a really good player, and I think what he's really good at is driving at defenders in a one-on-one situation. And he showed himself to be capable of finding space and doing that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Udogie was a little bit tighter. Tang, let's talk about the midfield. This is where it really starts to get fun, this match specifically, but let's start with Bentancur. I thought he was great in this match. I thought he played a really important role in us, not necessarily the press itself, but being there to reap the rewards of the press or ensure that the press paid off and became a turnover. But he was really good in this one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think Bentancur, especially with the Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison ahead of him, I think he does have to hold it down a little bit more. And he's been doing great. I think we're seeing more glimpses of pre-ACL injury Bentancur, which is great. But he's about to get hit with the ban hammer, so we're going to be missing him for a little bit. Dejan Kulusevski, I have to apologize. I was not familiar with him. I'm a born Kulusevski hater. All the season previews, born Kulusevski hater. I'm sorry. I was not familiar with his game. I need to fill out the apology form. I'm sorry. I don't know ball. But this midfield role has revitalized this man. Oh, my goodness. Lies. And honestly, I've seen it before. I think he has the pace. He has the power. He has the dribbling. It kind of reminded me of a bit of when like Joelinton was moved down to midfield from striker. Obviously, it's a terrible striker, terrible attacker. Amazing in midfield. I guess Dejan Kulusevski went to the same trainer. He has been brilliant. James Maddison, I think a little bit more of a quieter game from him, but still provides that creative outlet at times. But Dejan Kulusevski, bro, oh my God. I have to apologize. I'm so sorry.
He was so good. I agree with you. Like I had conversations probably on this podcast around Kulusevski's role in the system, right? And whether or not it just didn't make sense because it wasn't working out on the right. And I look back at those conversations and I feel pretty silly because I also was not familiar with Kulusevski's game in the middle of the park. But I really think that Ange moving Kulusevski to that 8 is maybe the most important thing to what we're seeing start to take shape right now.
It literally changed everything. Like I think it's changed like this entire project. Mm-hmm. I think he's like now like him and Maddison are the focal points of this whole system, and it now hinges on them, and it's like he was made in a lab to play Ange ball. Like that's what it looks like.
Exactly. His control in tight spaces is just it's
his
class.
Strength.
Yes,
it's like you can't get the ball off him. Dude, it's insane.
His ability to retain the ball reminds me of Moussa Dembele, and I know that's like a pretty
yes,
say,
it does.
I'm incredibly impressed with him. I cannot talk enough about him, and I think to your point about Kulusevski, Maddison, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but they're really they seem to be given room to get to the touchline and get forward a little bit more, and I think that's allowing the wingers to get, I don't want to say like invert, but they're getting into inside channels a little bit more because Maddison and Kulusevski are occupying that space, and the fullbacks are still inverting like Ange wants them to, right? And kind of like sitting and holding a little bit in the possession. It's been a great adjustment by Ange. Obviously, not only moving Kulusevski to the 8, but this slight tweak to the tactics that I think it's all seeing us not only be a little bit better with the ball, in my opinion, but we are absolutely smashing teams in the transition game. It's all of our goals are coming from these transitions, and it's all press related, right? And that gets into Dom Solanke, but I'm getting way down the agenda here, so I won't. But
yeah, can I just give some stats on Kulu
please.
yesterday? He created 9 chances in this game. That is more than any Manchester United player throughout this entire season at Old Trafford. Secondly, we had 5.33 XG. That is more than Manchester United has at Old Trafford this season. We had 9 big chances, and 6 of them missed. 4 of them were created by Dejan Kulusevski. 3 of them were missed by Timo Werner from Dejan Kulusevski. If Son is there, and I alluded to this at the start, if Son is in that left wing role, Kulu has a hat trick of assists, and we win this game 7-0. I swear down, if Son is playing.
Yeah.
It would have been so much worse because Son's finishing every single one of those 1v1s, and we all know it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Kulu. Insane performance.
Dude, best performance he's ever had in a Spurs shirt for sure.
Agree, totally.
And maybe the best individual performance we've seen this season in the Premier League.
I still think matters against Brentford, but I might be a little bit biased just because they had 11 players. But
sure.
But yeah, no, it's up there. It's those two, and Kulu is for sure. I think it sounds like all of our men of the match. He was mine for sure.
Oh, easy.
So
I think Mickey Van de Ven will get shouts, but it's firmly Kulusevski for me.
We will do ratings in a sec, but I had 4 players get a 9 out of 10. That is how well that we played yesterday. I haven't seen like this comprehensive of a team effort, barring one player who's horrible, in a long time from Tottenham.
For sure. Let's talk about that player. Timo Werner. We'll shift to the attack. Obviously, it's Werner on the left, it's Johnson on the right, and it's Solanke through the middle. But let's start with Timo. I want to do everything I can to make sure that we don't beat Timo Werner up. We are a Spurs pod, and he's a Spurs player, right? But
might be too late.
Not a good look for Timo, unfortunately. I do give him credit for the way that he got into those positions. Doing a great job of that, but those have to be finished. I really think I'd finish those chances, and I
at least one.
I would, and I do play up top often, right? So that helps me. But I think I would take those chances. So I'll leave it at that. But certainly didn't do himself any favors, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, Chang, what's your take?
Timo Werner. I mean, all I'm gonna say is you might have to deactivate your Instagram for a little bit because it clearly worked for Brendan Johnson, who I'm gonna talk about later. But Timo Werner, leave the football before the football leaves you. That's all I can say.
Lived it, loved it. Peace out, Timo. You're never playing again. If I was the coach, dude,
he has a UCL medal, bro.
He was starting, bro. He started for that team.
He was.
Dude, he scored 35 goals one time in a season. I'm literally wondered as to how he even managed to put that ball in the net that many times. He looks like he's never kicked a soccer ball before.
Dude, it just all went downhill for him at Chelsea. And then he was injured last year, I believe, or whenever the last time he was at Leipzig before he came to Spurs. So yeah, he was injured that season. So I think his confidence is absolutely shattered. Obviously, you guys have both played soccer long enough to know it's when your confidence is low, your touch is off, and you're overthinking. And he's just doing a lot of that right now. So confidence is shattered, and that's not going to help. Missing those 2 big chances. I do agree with you. If Sonny is on the pitch, we have even more of a commanding victory. Now, who's to say Sonny would have gotten those same positions? Probably would. Is a safe bet.
Oh, definitely. Those balls from Kulu and that one from Udogi, Sonny's finishing all 3 of those. For sure.
I agree. So yeah, it's a tough day for Timo Werner, but look, we'll back him as long as he wears a Spurs shirt. That doesn't mean we want him to start. That's not what I'm saying here, right? But we'll always support everyone who wears the shirt. But it's just going to get dicey because before we get to Solanke and Johnson, when we look at the depth after Sonny, after Solanke, after Johnson, it's pretty much Timo Werner, right? At this point, you've got Mikey Moore.
And he looked better, bro. He looked better than Timo. Like
Yeah.
I'm standing on that at Old Trafford.
No, I agree. No, I think it has to be mentioned that asking Mikey Moore to come on and make an impact at 0-0 at minute 1 is different than, hey, we're 3-0 up at Old Trafford. Go have a fucking great time and play some football, right? Yeah. Those are very different things, but I'm not saying I disagree with you either. I mean, I think he's 17, but at the same time, there's no Wayne Rooney, there's no Michael Owen. If players aren't allowed to play if they're ready at whatever age they are at, right? And so I think Ange is going to have to start integrating him into the squad for sure. Not only because he's probably ready, but because of depth. I mean, again, after that front three of Son, Solanke, Johnson, it's Timo Werner. There's no Odebear. And there's Mikey Moore, right? It's slim pickings. I do think it's worth mentioning that Richarlison's back touching grass in training, right? And I think we think of him as a 9, but he can very much play on either side of the striker if required. So Richarlison coming back should give us a little bit of depth at the wing position. I'm not saying he'd start, right? But yeah, we need to integrate Mikey Moore. But yeah, we'll move on from Timo Werner. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I just thought Mikey Moore bent that into the top corner. I don't know about you guys, but I was, bro.
I wanted that so bad for him. He's so good, man. I mean,
we need to stop babying him. Like, I'm just tired of these Twitter people saying so much pressure. I said this last episode, so much pressure on the 17-year-old. Oh, Timo is the better player right now. Like, he has more experience. I'm sorry, if he is what we think he is, he should have no problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like you said, Owen, Rooney, Foden, even Palmer. Like all these, look at these players. Like he's one of them. If I think he's going to be one of those type of players, he's going to be ready right now.
All right, let's go. Angel, get him a start on Thursday, and let's roll.
I think he has to, honestly. Like I genuinely think he has to. Yeah,
I think he will. Yeah, no doubt. All well said. Solanke, Chang. Let's talk about Solanke. Fucking phenomenal. Our press is a whole different machine because of Solanke. The dude he's a robot. I swear. He runs and runs and runs. But talk to me about what you saw in Solanke.
Yeah, so I think he honestly had a great game. I think he's finally settling in. I thought his contribution in the second goal was actually maybe a little underrated. He drops back. He puts his arm into the Man United midfielder, wins the ball, bounces it, heads it to Brennan Johnson, who's away on the break, and then obviously we know that ended up on the Kulu goal. But I think his build-up play is honestly pretty underrated. I saw a post on Instagram the other day. It was Solanke has a better all-around game than Erling Haaland's. And no, I couldn't help but think to myself, why is this a bad football opinion? But anyways, I digress. Solanke obviously fully settled in. We're starting to see it. And I think in the system, it's clear. It's extremely clear what he provides to us. So.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I also think that when I look at his profile and everything you're talking about, I completely agree with everything you're saying. I also don't think that take is horrible, that he is a more, well-rounded football player than Haaland is. Not the goal scorer, Haaland is, and maybe that's the most important stat, right? But yeah, he's a great footballer. And I look at his profile, it's clear that what we're doing from approach of using deep analytics to bring players in, right? Finally, he's the absolute tailor-made in a lab, perfect striker for the Ange Postecoglou system, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I agree. Fantastic performance. underrated, I think, too, as well. Like we talk about the midfield, obviously Bren playing fantastic, Van de Ven. I think Solanke was right up there with him yesterday. Really, really good, comprehensive striker performance, just like he delivered at midweek as well. So great.
Yeah, well said. And yeah, that leaves us with Brennan Johnson. Y'all know
I'll tee you up for this, Scott.
Yeah,
Scott,
let's go.
how are you feeling about Brennan Johnson right now?
Oh, dude, I just feel like everyone else can fuck off because I've been right for a long time. No, all jokes aside, I couldn't be happier for Brennan. He's full of confidence right now. He's on top of his game, and look, that's gonna go at some point. That's how football works, right? But he needs to ride this high for as long as he can and continue to perform. He's put himself in a position to be one of the first names on the team sheet. And I'm just really, really happy for him. But it's all, in my opinion, come from, again, this slight tweak that's allowing him and whoever his left wing counterpart is to just get into that inside channel a little bit more easily. So yeah, really, really stoked for him. But 4 goals in 4 matches, and long may this 1-1 continue. I want to see it get to 10.
Break the record.
Yeah.
Party.
You think him like deactivating his social media, maybe like focusing a little bit more, tuning out that outside noise, like do you think that has a part to play in it?
You know, I don't think I'd be uncomfortable saying that it does. I personally think that the least amount of social media one uses, the better headspace they're probably going to carry in life in general, right? Like I think the thing about having constant entertainment in the form of social media is that like no one's like ever alone with their thoughts anymore. And when you are alone with your thoughts, like I'm someone who goes through mental health. Like I go to therapy. This is the kind of stuff that I think about, right? And I feel like it puts people in situations where they have to be alone with their own thoughts. It can be like a pretty tough place because we're not like practicing that on a daily basis anymore. Like we're not sitting waiting for the bus at a bus stop or a subway with like out a cell phone anymore, right? Or whatever it is, all the different instances. And so I think it's a really good question. And I think shutting it down and saying, I'm just going to focus on my football. Well, I don't think like growth and mental health happens in like 2 days, but I do think removing a distraction for sure benefits a footballer without a doubt. So, it's kind of one of those things where maybe I never want to say like anything that happened to him was a good thing, but I do think that you can always find good things that come from shitty deals, right? Like, and I think that's definitely something that could have happened here.
Agree.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into player ratings. Let's start with Vicario. I'm going to let you two go through your ratings, right? I think that's kind of what I like to do. If just throw it back to the two of you and we'll rip through it. But Max, start with Vicario. What'd you give the goalkeeper?
I have him as an 8, I think. Yeah, 8. Good save, first half Xerxes. Almost went in. He made a good one-handed save there. Not much else to do, but kept a clean sheet, and a clean sheet under Ange is an 8 for me. So 8.
Word. Chang, would you give Vicario?
Yep, I have to agree. I think I'd give him an 8 as well.
Yeah, great performance. I think those are both very valid ratings for the clean sheet that he put up, and he also he really commands vocally, which I really like to see in a goalkeeper. I think Hugo was a little quieter, which I mean, never want to say anything bad about Hugo Lloris, but I love
LAFC.
Fair enough. I don't disagree with that. But yeah, Vicario, Romero, and Porro just crack me up. They're like a little trio, and they just like fucking big each other up constantly, and they're just super pumped up all the time. It's really cool to see. But yeah, love it. 8s for Vicario. Pedro Porro, Max, what'd he get?
7 for me.
Chang?
Yep, 7.
All right, Christian Romero. Max?
7 also. Could have been higher. Just didn't really notice him. Also a good thing. Just throw a 7 there.
Chang?
Yeah, I know Max doesn't do halves, I'm pretty sure, but I gave him a 7.5. Yeah, clean sheet, can never complain, you know.
Word. Yeah, I think he had a great performance. He just did what he does, and like you said, Max quiet, which I think is always good for a 6 or a center back, right? So yeah, couldn't agree more. Mickey Van de Ven, this is the big one, right? I'm curious to hear what you gave him.
I got a 9.
Yeah, I got a 9, and honestly, I had him as my man of the match before the podcast, before Max went through those underlying Dejan Kulusevski stats. That maybe will push me towards a Kulu man of the match, but I think obviously Van de Ven safe choice for man of the match as well.
Yeah, completely agree. I think him and Kulusevski are going to split the fan base when it comes to man of the match. That match maybe doesn't happen without the way that Mickey Van de Ven sets the tone with that individual brilliance, right? So, yeah, phenomenal performance from him. I think a 9 is quite justified. I wouldn't even complain if I heard a 9.5 thrown out or something like that, right? So, yeah, great from him. And then rounding out the back line, Udogie.
I had a 7. Could have been an 8, but just only played half the game. I also had Jed Spence as a 7. I thought he was really good. When he came on. Awesome. Another great cameo. And another reason to be perplexed about why he is not in the Europa League squad. So.
Dude, I went on a rant about that on another podcast that I'm on, just how infuriating it is when I'm looking at Thursday.
Yeah, I know. We need, if we have Archie Gray on one side, is Spence on the other. That's perfect rotation for me.
Yeah, who's going to play left back? Because, and again, we're not going to.
I don't want to play Van de Ven, right? Exactly. Don't. Yeah.
If you play Ben Davies, it has to be Van de Ven at a center back position. And if you play Ben Davies at left center back, I don't know who plays left back, right? Maybe Pedro Porro plays right back and Archie Gray, but that's too many minutes on Porro's legs. The fullback position is honestly
I would lean Porro just because he hasn't played the last 2 midweeks. So I think he could play. He hasn't played 3 games in a row recently, so I think he could. Udogie had literally started or subbed on in the first half of every game. So yeah. And he's injured. Now he's injured. So that's what happens.
Oh, good shout. I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
Porro's going to have to play. Archie Gray's going to have to play left back. Again, cannot believe we're in this situation where we had this crazy fullback conundrum to deal with in the Europa League. But anyways, we very much digress. I love the shot for Spence. I thought he was phenomenal in this game too. Really, really capable of progressing us down the left flank. I thought he was close to providing exactly what Udogie provides. As dangerous as that could be to say, but he was really good.
6.5 Udogie. I think 6.5 Jed Spence as well. I think obviously Jed Spence has shown his ball carrying capabilities. I think the one thing I wish was that he's left-footed, which obviously you can't really change. But just to have a left foot on the left side, So 6.5 for both.
Yeah, cool. I don't disagree at all. Let's start with Bentancur. I thought he had a really strong performance. What do you guys think?
I got 8. Solid performance.
Yeah, I said 8 as well. I think I think the win obviously inflates ratings a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd give him an 8.
Yeah, I love it. I thought he was really, really good. I think he, like I said, just honestly, I'll use an English term, just hoovered up everything that the press spit out, right? And he's some great steps and just won a lot of balls that I don't think we've seen the Sixes winning as consistently as he was this year. I haven't seen consistently throughout the season in the way that I saw from Bentancur in this match, so I thought he was really good. Kulusevski, obviously, some folks' man of the match. Probably was mine, definitely Max's, maybe Chang's, but Max, what'd you give Kulusevski?
I have a 9 because I don't do decimals, but if I was, I would put 9.9 probably. But I can't just round up to 10, right? So I'll give him a 9, but absolutely insane performance, obviously.
Yeah, I'd give him a 9 as well.
Yeah, Cool. Yeah, I would. I didn't do ratings, right, but I maybe would give him a 9.5 if I had to pick something off the top, right. I think he was phenomenal. I think a 10 has to be a Hattie for me to give
Cole
someone
Palmer.
a 10.
Cole
Yeah,
Palmer.
I mean Cole Palmer has put up some 10s this year for sure. Dude, what a player! But yeah,
Would
very
you
fair.
rather have Cole Palmer or Kulusevski right now?
I mean,
In
why can't we just
person?
have both and Cole Palmer like warms the bench for him a little bit?
Exactly.
But like
No,
if we had Cole Palmer right now for this weekend available to select, like are you hitting Matters and Kulu or are you hitting up Cole Palmer to start?
Bro, you gotta hit Cole Palmer. Like,
Bro, nah.
have to.
Kulu
Like,
clears
Palmer,
Cole
Kulu.
Palmer.
how could you not?
I'd rather have Kulu. Madison though, it's tough, man.
Yeah,
It's tough. But
yeah.
maybe Cole Palmer doesn't get into the Spurs team. Sorry,
No,
Chelsea
man.
fans.
Just get him playing up top. We could use him there.
Yeah, he's a good finisher.
Yeah, but yeah, Kulusevski and Cole Palmer would be an interesting.
They have the
interesting
joint tied for most chances created this season, 19
Yeah.
each.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Another example of a young player too, right? Who was given opportunity, and albeit at Man City, right? But that allowed him to be approached by Chelsea, right? And the rest is history. So, Mikey Moore. But yeah, rounded out Madison. Obviously, not the performance of Kulusevski, but a strong performance. What do you guys give him?
7.
Yeah, 6.5.
Word. Yeah. I think a
strong.
job well done by Madison. Nothing special, but he played well.
I had Sarr as a 7 just because he had the assist. Bergvall, I mean, I did guess I'd give him a default rating 6 because he didn't really do much. But I just wanted to shout out Sarr for getting on that corner. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Sarr and Bergvall. I give him like, 7 for Sarr, got the assists. Bergvall, kind of quiet. I give him like a 6.5.
Yep, sounds right.
Word. Yeah, massive credit to Sarr too. We didn't talk about him much when we went through the original 11, right? But I thought he was phenomenal when he came on. I obviously being involved in the goal does a lot for his confidence, but he's I think Sarr probably went through a bit of a period, and I'm speculating obviously where after having been the preferred week in, week out 8 last year in a season that was fairly strong, all things considered, to fighting for minutes and finding yourself on the bench quite often, that's an adjustment, right? And maybe he's gotten through a bit of that adjustment and is comfortable with the understanding that he's competing with Kulusevski, who again is, we've already talked enough about that, but I think Sarr, is going to be a really, really tidy player to bring off the bench and to start in Europa League and cup matches and all of that. So really happy for Sarr. All right, moving up top. I don't want to ask what Timo Werner got from each of you guys, but I probably have to. What'd you give Timo, Max?
A generous 5 because I actually thought outside of his finishing, he played well. I'm not going to lie. He had some dangerous crosses. He was pretty good in the build-up, a lot better than we've seen. And if he could finish, man, he was looking at a 7 or an 8. But, he can't. So, yeah.
Yeah. It can come. I mean, all things considered. On one hand, I saw someone say, what's that?
I said when he's in Turkey.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, it's kind of not a bad shout, actually. I could see that, but no, I mean, honestly, if he can get some of the confidence under control, which I think leads to the finishing, I also agree that he played really well outside of those.
Definitely best performance this season.
Yeah, I agree, but those missed opportunities are always going to be at the forefront of anyone's opinion of how someone played, right? I also have to say, somebody said this on Twitter, and this isn't even a dig at Timo. I think maybe their tweet was intended to be something along the lines of, if all you're asked to do in this system is find that space and finish when you do, you should be a little bit better about that. And I don't intend to take a shot at him in that manner, but I do think that it has to be said that is your primary function. in that position is to be able to put those chances away. And so if he can get that figured out, I think he can be a very serviceable backup for this squad. But time's also shorter than in other professions, and he's going to have to figure it out pretty quickly.
And in a positive light, like it just shows again, like how we're creating chances for that position. And when Sonny is there, that's exactly what we want. So
Yep. All right. Well, the 5 is generous. Chang, what'd you give him?
Yeah, I went 4.5. I think, like Max said, decent performance. It's easy to highlight the misses. Obviously, that's always going to be at the front of your mind when thinking about that performance. But I thought he played like fine overall. It was like a decent outlet,
Yep. Solanke, Max?
9, really good.
Chang?
Yeah, I gave him a 9 as well. Glad he got his goal. So,
For real. Yep.
Yeah, great performance from him. He's slotted in really well. I also like Andrew's little dig at, I think maybe supporters / media in his press conference where he's like, yeah, Dom was in a crisis of confidence for, about 180 minutes. And he found his way out of that. And he said it like super sarcastic, right? So, yeah. But yeah, happy for Solanke. And last but not least, my man, Brennan Johnson. What'd you give him, Max?
Resounding 9, and I'll give him an assist for the Kulu goal, which I don't know if they credited him. I don't think they did, actually, which is a damn shame because it was definitely his assist. And another point, a great clearance, I think, in the second half. He was defending and was facing our own goal, clears away across. That was what solidified it for me. I was like, oh, this dude is defending. He's got a goal. He's got an assist for me. In my book, give him a 9, a strong 9, that is.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Gave him a 9. Glad to see all the players I hated on finally coming to the light. So,
Facts.
Yep.
I've been hating on Timo since the very first episode. I think our very first segment of this entire podcast was Timo Werner loan. What do we think? And he still hasn't proven me wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah, some takes that were had from everyone on this podcast. We'd love to walk them back, but that's not necessarily the point of this either, right? So sometimes we get them wrong, even us experts here at the Emerald and Lilywhite. But regardless, Spurs are fucking rolling, and I would gladly go through and check mark every one of my takes I've ever done as wrong if we go and do something special, right? So I'm really happy to see what we're doing at the club. I'm happy for Ange. I'm happy for all the players. We'll round out Man United, and we're going to start talking about the big one on Thursday against Ferencváros. Max maybe has to
Ferencváros. Ferencváros or something.
Ferencváros.
They're from Hungary.
Yep, reigning Hungarian champions. Anything else you guys want to say about Spurs 3, United 0 before we move on?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I fucking hate Man United. Actually, in fact, Man United are my second most watched team because I love watching them fucking lose. I love watching them suffer. Red card, Bruno, cry me a fucking river, okay? We were dominating them regardless. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great point. I have stats on that. So for all of the Man United fans, because this is a lot of you. Oh, Bruno, red card. That's why you guys dominated us. He got the red card in the 42nd minute. We had 2 XG at halftime, and you guys had 0.34. We had 63% possession when he got the red card. Chang, go on.
Yeah, anyways, I'd like to say that if it makes you feel any better, like that you think the red card was what made you lose, then that's fine. Keep Erik ten Hag at the fucking helm as long as you want.
Keep him at the wheel.
Celebrate that. 19 Premier League teams love seeing Erik ten Hag at the wheel. That's all I'm going to say. He fucking sucks. He signs all his friends from Ajax. And I'm glad that they're doing shit, bro. I love the hate watch, and I love when they fucking lose. That's all I'm going to say.
Attaboy, Chang.
Well said. My dad is a Man United fan, so there's always like a good text thread going on, regardless of how well things go for us.
They haven't beat us since 2022.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So
Was that the one, Patrick?
It was the Conte sack, or the no, not Conte sacked. No, maybe it was the Ronaldo hat trick.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, because that was against Conte.
Yeah, well, as Chang said, fuck United, up the Spurs. That's how we'll end that. But yeah, let's move on to Thursday. Again, the away opener, we could say, of the Europa League. We travel to Hungary. Not going to be an easy task by any means, and not because I don't want to make light of the opponent. I think we should go in and do some pretty handily work here. But anytime you're traveling in the Europa League to a country where there is, we could say, less of a football infrastructure, it can be challenging. It's a long flight too. Let's talk projected lineups before we get into much else. What kind of changes do we expect to see, Max? We've already started to talk about some of that at the fullback position, but what big changes, in your opinion, are coming to the starting 11?
Yeah, I think Vicario stays. Romero has to come in. Radu is suspended for this one. I think you got to rest Van de Ven. That would be 3 matches in a row for him. Can't do that. So Davies is in there, and then fullbacks, like I said earlier, got to be Porro and Gray. Because no Spence. I think the midfield 3 changes, just like last week. Bissouma, Bergvall, Sarr. Kind of like the look of that. Hopefully, Bergvall really gets a shout. I think maybe we overrated Bergvall a little bit, overhyped him a little bit. A little immaturity there still. I'm thinking about this one chance in the United game where he just had to go. Like, he had Mikey to his left who had I think he's trying to prove himself a lot right now, and it's coming off a bit forced. So, relax, play your game. This is a game where hopefully he gets a good chunk of time to do what he does, because he was really good against Coventry. Then I think Mikey Moore has to start. I'm assuming Sonny isn't playing. Moore, Solanke, Johnson. It's a lot of minutes on those last 2, but I don't know if we have a choice. We will probably see Timo Werner in this game as well. And then on the bench, I just wanted to highlight Tyrese Hall, Leo Black, Alfie Dorrington. Bring him. Why not? That's all I have to say. And then hopefully we get some Will Lancashire minutes as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, Chang, I'll come to you for this, but based on everything Max said, and I agree, is there a world where you give Lancashire a go and take some of the stress off Solanke, or is that just a pipe dream right now?
As much as I love seeing the youngsters, I don't quite know if it's Will Lancashire's time to start. At least I think we haven't seen him as a sub. So I think just keep him as a sub for now. Take obviously starting in the Europa League is like a lot of pressure, especially if that's going to be like one of his first appearances. So I think since we haven't seen him as a sub yet, maybe just keep him as a sub for now. And then Dom can play like 70 minutes probably. Hopefully we're up 3-4-0 by then. Give the youngsters a go,
Yeah. No, I disagree with that at all.
Lancashire and Moore starting for the first time together would be really cold, though.
It'd be sick. It'd be
Sun Kane regen. Let's get it.
Yeah, for sure. I would be a little nervous. I'd be super excited too. So, Max, I'm thinking about Solanke and Johnson and all the minutes on those legs. It's a shit ton of minutes those two have played. But like we've talked about, not many options. Could we see a Mikey Moore and a Timo Werner start and a Brennan Johnson not get the nod?
That's definitely a possibility. I mean, you look at Solanke and Johnson and you compare them to everyone else on the team. the only other players that weren't really rotated was Sonny and Udogie, and now those two are both hurt. So I feel like it's a matter of time. Solanke a little bit less because he was hurt for a spell in the beginning of the year, and he's looking great out there. But it's just like, especially for Dom, it really sucks that we don't have another option for him right now that has played first team footy, because like he is, in my opinion, like one of the key pillars of what we're doing well right now. As much as Brennan has been great, I think that his role is much easier filled than what Solanke's doing, just versatility wise.
Yeah, agreed. I think that a Mikey Moore, Timo Werner wing partnership is much more realistic than starting Will Langshire at striker.
I agree.
But at the same time, and I have to preface all this, what I'm about to say, I don't think that this should happen. I think it maybe has to happen, is all I'm saying here. But I don't think it would be that crazy, again, out of necessity, for Ange to go Mikey Moore, Will Langshire, Timo Werner, and essentially you sit down with the team and you say, this is the reality of the situation. I believe in you, boys. I don't give a shit what the outside says. I believe in you. Your squad needs you. Like, let's go get a result, right? And that doesn't become like the norm, but I'm just thinking about how important everything that's coming up is going to be. We've got to get a result against Brighton. If we get 3 points against Brighton at the weekend, things are really going to start to hum for us in the league, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, nor do I think it should. My guess would be Mikey Moore, Solanke, Timo Werner is what I would like to see.
I think that will happen too. I'm just kind of holding out hope.
Yeah,
for no Timo.
Yeah,
because it's been now 2 games in a row. So like, even Timo, his legs might be getting tired.
Yeah, it's fair too. I know my boy Brennan's been running for days, man. That's how many matches in a row has he played?
Let me pull it. He has played in every single match this season. And his one substitute appearance was for Odebear's injury, so he has pretty much started every game.
Yeah, he's played a lot. We'll see. In the midfield, like you said, I think Basuma, Sarr, and Bergvall is the way. Chang, let's talk about Basuma for a second, because there's been a lot of conversation around Bentancur, and rightfully so. Bentancur has been good, and it seems like Bentancur has cemented himself again. This pending ban that you pointed out is definitely considered, right? But right now it seems like Bentancur is the 1 and Basuma is the 2 at that 6 position. But I thought Basuma, he hasn't been as good as Bentancur, but I think he's been pretty good, and I expect him to come in and do a good job on Thursday.
Yeah, to touch upon that, I mean, I'm still not sold on Basuma, and based on how my takes are going, in 2 months, Basuma will be an absolute world beater. But I just think I don't feel secure when Basuma is in the 6, because he has these passes where he tries to break the line and he just gives it away. He passes it to the other team. And I just think that you can't really have that inconsistency in the buildup, in like transition, when you're playing the 6. So I'd like to see him like maybe connect a few more passes. I do think that it's good that he's trying to go forward with it sometimes, but I just think you really can't turn over those type of passes in the midfield. Like, I play midfield. I'm definitely not as good as Basuma, but giving it away there is just, it's not an option. And also, Basuma's like one of those guys. He's very patchy. I think he'll show a few games of good form. The fan base will think maybe we're getting prime Basuma. We're not. He's going to go do more whippets. I don't know. I think this Bentancur ban could be a lot worse than we think it is, and we already think it's going to be really bad.
So for me, I just think that like right now it's pretty clear what we got, and I honestly enjoy it. We kind of got our midfield for Europa, and we got our midfield for the Prem. And honestly, I think that's perfect. Like, stick to your competition. You're playing each week, one time. Focus on that, and then you'll get a substitute appearance in the other game. And I think we can just flip-flop that if the ban happens. And I know I'm obviously kind of the Basuma guy here. I feel like I've been higher on Basuma than anyone else, Keegan included, obviously you guys, just because I'm a little more open to him taking those risks in the 6. I think Bence obviously plays a lot cleaner of a 6, but I do think that those risks sometimes pay off, although in the Prem, they're punished a lot more than I think in but I also do want to say I think Basuma is a better defender at times than Bentancur, just because of like the physicality aspect that he brings. I think Bence is just not all the way there. Like he's not as willing to like put in a tackle as Bis, but that also comes with risk because he did concede a penalty last week. So that's my 2 cents on that situation.
Yeah, when I look at the two, for me, I think Basuma has a strong defensive acumen. He turns the ball over a little too much for me, but like you said, risk reward comes into it. And I had actually said the other day in a conversation that I didn't think he had the strongest defensive acumen, and was definitely asked to revisit my take and go back and really think about that and look through that, right? And so I'll admit that I looked past. I do think he has a very strong defensive acumen. Again, the turnovers are a little bit more of a problem for me than they maybe are for you. And then I think from a pressing / ball winning perspective, I think they're both equally strong. Basuma, I think, again, like you said, is a little bit more apt to make a tackle and win a ball. I think Bentancur, his just spacing and IQ is really strong, and he doesn't have to do that as much, right? But either way, I'm really happy. I think for the first time we have comfortability in the 6th position, and I say first time this season, right? We've talked a lot about what does a 6 look like, could we upgrade, blah blah blah. But like you, I think again we're going to set the band off to the side and just say for now the Bentancur Basuma punch, 1-2 Europa League, Premier League is puts us in a pretty good space. And I don't know many other clubs who have 2 solid 6s. I think it's kind of a position that's a little tricky when it comes to shoring up right now. I mean, so anyways, I'm happy to have 2 functional 6s right now. And then, Sarr, I think will have an opportunity to continue to impress and to show the manager that he needs to be a heavy part of the squad. And like you said earlier, Max Bergvall, I think he's leaving some to be desired, but he's a young kid and there's been a ton of pressure on him. So anything else you guys want to say about Bergvall?
I think I would honestly have to disagree a little bit. I don't like our 6s. I think the only reason why they're so comparable is because they're both incredibly mid. I don't think either of them really give you the full package that you want in a world-class 6. Obviously, we're not going to get the next Rodri, but I think that the only bright side is that they are playing a little bit better, and we do obviously have to work with what we have, which is Basuma and Bentancur. But I think if we really want to challenge for the Premier League, which we obviously do in the future, we would have to upgrade that position. I don't think that either of them are world-class. I don't think either of them are going to be world-class, honestly. So
who do you move on, right? Out of those 2 if you bring someone else in?
I would probably I think I'd rather let go of Basuma. I think Bentancur has the leadership abilities that Basuma may not have. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room with them 24/7, but I think that Bentancur has a bit more maturity about him. From what I can see, even looking at their style of play, I think if we look at some players like Moussa Dembele towards the end of his career, he was brought on as a sub, as kind of a closer, if you will, to kind of see out games. He has that comfort on the ball. He has that ability to dictate tempo that even at an old age where you don't necessarily have the legs to go 90 minutes, you can still see out a game. And I think that Bentancur could potentially fill that role or imitate that role later on in his career. So I think if we would sign a world-class 6, I would rather let Basuma go. I also think that Prem proven we could probably get a little bit more from him than Bentancur. So I'd rather, keep Bentancur.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that Basuma would fetch a bigger fee, and I think that we go with whoever gets us more money there in that scenario.
Fair. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I mean, I think one of the things too is as Spurs fans that we have and I don't mean we, the three of us, but just Spurs fans in general, have not always historically done a very good job of is understanding that if you want to play at the top with the big boys, sometimes you got to move players on, maybe at a time that doesn't always feel like it's their time. I think like at Spurs, again, in general, as Spurs fans, we have this idea that like players should be at Spurs until they're ready to not be able to compete at the top level anymore, and then we move them on. But I mean, shit, look at City, look at even Arsenal at times. They've been comfortable moving on players even in their prime, right? I mean, City just let go of Julian Alvarez, right? So, yeah, I mean, not trying to compare Alvarez to either of our sixes, right? But sometimes you just got to move players on to get even better. So, yeah, I think it's a good conversation to have. All right. Well, we all know it's a big one, right? We're not quite sure how the lineup shakes out. But what do you guys think is going to happen in this match before we round out the pod?
I'm gonna go with a cheeky 2-1. I think it'll be a bit tougher. Give me I like a header from Ben Davies, and I'm just gonna say Mikey Moore. I'm saying him every game now. Just give me Mikey Moore debut goal, please.
Yep, I love it, man. Chang?
I on the same note, I'd have to go 3-1. I think we'll score goals, but I don't think we're gonna keep a clean sheet, especially as we just kept one, which probably means statistically we won't keep 2 in a row. Oh, we kept 2. Yeah, so statistically, 3 in a row doesn't seem likely, especially knowing our track record. I'd love Mikey Moore hat trick, announce himself to the world a little bit. But I don't know about all that. If I were a betting man, I don't think I'd put the house on that. So I think if Solanke starts, Solanke goal, I think give me a Werner goal, get his confidence up a little bit, and then give me a actually Solanke brace, Werner goal. All right.
3-1.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going 4-0. I'm saying we keep the third clean sheet. I think Solanke gets a goal. I think Timo gets 2 goals, and I think Bergvall gets a goal too. Actually, I think he settles in and puts one up. Part of me wants to say Brennan Johnson maybe instead of that Bergvall goal off the bench, but I'm going with Bergvall. But two from Timo is probably the hottest take right out of all of that. So we'll see. But yeah, 4-0 Spurs.
Bet.
Love to see it.
Brought to you by Wits End Bar. So Luca Williams-Barnett bagged again. I don't know how many times I've mentioned him on this podcast. He's been doing well. Our 21s are getting thrashed week in, week out. Don't have much to say about them. I also want to highlight Janai Byfield, 16-year-old playing with the U18s. Really, really good performance this weekend. And then Lone Watch. I don't know if Chang has any Brian Gill news, but I have a Luka Vucevic assist, and he continues to ball out in Belgium. So, Chang?
I actually don't have anything at the moment.
Yeah. You got any Manor Solomon news? I'm sure the people are hungry for that.
I look at things underrated personally, but I actually don't know.
Chang, Werner and Johnson. No, actually, for all the listeners, I was at a Sounders game with Chang, I think around July. He was trying to tell me that Timo Werner was better than Brennan Johnson, and I was not having it.
I've told you
that was insane.
I've told you that Timo Werner is better than Kulusevski, bro.
No,
I have.
So Chang is a Timo Werner, Manor Solomon, Brian Gill fanatic. So I don't know if he's allowed to speak on the wing.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta lose. Yeah,
Oh shit! Hey, you know what?
And he
I
loves Steven Bergwijn as well. Throw that one on top there.
I didn't hate Steven Bergwijn. All right.
I think honestly, at this point in time, the worst thing you could have is the Alex Chang seal of approval. So, not a good look.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, yeah. Thank you. Obviously, the Academy and the Lone Watch is brought to you by our homes, the Wits and Infinity Ridge and Cascades and Puyallup. We appreciate both of these places tremendously for the work that they do in partnership with Seattle Spurs. As always, if you're out and about and you're able, get to one of those pubs. Most Premier League matches are shown at both. Europa League always at the Wits End. Europa League when it's possible at Cascades, and you can always pay attention to the socials to learn more about which bars will be open for which matches. But make sure you get down and show some love to our two homes, and most importantly, tip your bartender as well, please. We appreciate that at Seattle Spurs. But yeah, for everybody at Seattle Spurs,
I got one last thing.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
get in here,
guys. I know it's late. This is a long episode. Manchester City, we drew them in the Carabao Cup. We haven't talked about this yet. We are hosting Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. That game will commence on October 30th, which is a Wednesday, 1 week after we play Thursday, hosting AZ Alkmaar and Troy Parrott, and then Crystal Palace away. Then it is City and then Villa at the weekend. So that's a tough little run there. And do you guys think we'll see rotation in the Prem come that time? Like rotate the Prem as we're doing Europa and then put out our best 11 for that City match at the midweek?
I would just say it'd be disappointing if we don't put out our strongest lineup in that match, because I think if you go beat them, that's everything you need to go and win the competition, right? And at this point, I'm not turning my nose up at the League Cup at all. I think as fans, we have no business, just taking that competition lightly or, again, turning our nose up at a trophy. So, yeah, I'd love for us to go beat City. Got to do it at some point if you want to win the trophy. And if we play like we did yesterday against United, I think we can go and beat Man City. But, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. It's a tough draw.
Yep.
Yeah. Word. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up too. It reminded me of one other thing I wanted to mention. It's important to us all here at Seattle Spurs, and again, we're going to keep going here, filibuster at this point. But no, the homophobic chanting that came out of the stands. We all saw the club put out a statement. Absolute bullshit. All of us here at Seattle Spurs take issue with that. Just has no business in the game. I think. All I will say is that anytime someone wants to make jokes or have fun or do whatever, at the expense of people who have negative lived experiences around those types of things, like highlighting other people's challenges and just difficulties in life, just never a good thing. And it's really disappointing that Spurs fans chose to do that. There's plenty of ways to have a good time, banter your opponent that doesn't involve homophobic slurs. So I would really hope that we see better from all Spurs fans. And I hope fans get banned who are identified. And even if folks aren't identified, I hope people can use it as an opportunity to do some self-reflection and think about whether or not those things need to happen. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out again for everybody at Seattle Spurs, that we do not support that type of thing here. And we hope to not see that going forward. And we do appreciate the club coming out in a stern fashion and taking action rather than just putting out a social media post, which, more to come as far as what action is taken, but it is undergoing now. So, but yeah, for everybody at Seattle Spurs, we appreciate the time. You can find us at Seattle Spurs, the podcast, Emerald and Lilywhite, the official podcast and YouTube channel of Seattle Spurs. You can find us at and Lilywhite on Twitter and at _ and Lilywhite on Instagram. Follow us, like us, subscribe to our channel. We certainly appreciate it, not only for all of us here at the podcast, but again, most importantly for Seattle Spurs. Everything we do is to help elevate the voice of Seattle Spurs. If you're interested in joining the show or getting on, definitely reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to have guests. But for Max at Going Limbs, for Chang at Alex Chang with an X instead of an A, and for myself at Scott G. Bird, we appreciate everybody's time, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.